Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is finally time to talk about the World Baseball Classic. Welcome to this episode of GBN Unscripted. I think this is number 3 now, and the long overdue World Baseball Classic video. And this was originally envisioned to be kind of a proper drawn out preview. It was going to be scripted, but I figure since by the time we got to doing this after the marathon editing session that was the Sadaharu O video, we needed to just get right in and talk about the standings only and how we think these pools are going to play out. So without much further ado, let's get right into it. Big story as of the recording of this video was Italy knocking off Cuba, handing them their second loss of Pool A action so far, and we had them picked originally to take it all the way, but with the way things are shaping up, it doesn't look like they're going to make it out of this group. 2 losses already is kind of a death sentence in the early rounds. Now, who do I think is going to make it out of this group? This Italian team looks for real. They were able to string hits together. They had excellent pitching performances, both from the starters and from the bullpen. Starters plural, I say. It's only been 1 game. What it hasn't been just a single game for is this Netherlands team also looking great. But you'll note the graphic. I've got Team Taiwan going 3-1 out of this pool. It was a sluggish start for them against the Panamanians. Will the Dutch have it together? No, I don't think so. I think the wheels are just about to fall off because they have age slowing them down. And this is the time for them to have age catch up to them. Yes, Sander Bogaerts is good, but some of these other veterans in this Netherlands lineup don't have what they used to have. So they may have started well, but I don't think they're going to end well. So I've got Italy and Team Taiwan moving on to the knockout stages from Pool A. Pool B, as we take a look down here, the big surprise was Australia winning that must-win game against Korea. They edged them out last night by 1 single run, 8-7 in the Tokyo Dome. A huge moment for Team Australia and Pool B because the Australians have just made it interesting. The Koreans proved that they are a little bit vulnerable. And speaking of vulnerable, Samurai Japan, though they might have won 8-1 against China, no one thought that they were going to surrender a run to them at all. The big issue in that game was they left about 12 runners on base against that Chinese team that did not look nearly as bad as a lot of people thought they were going to. They definitely will give the Czechs a run for their money and could definitely give the Australians a run for their money too. And this makes this match coming up here with Japan and Korea all the more important. That could very well decide how Pool B shakes out. The Koreans have had their 1 loss. I think they will win out. And the Japanese, I think, will lose 1 game and win out. It will be determined on run differential. Now, does that mean the Australians have a chance to make it out into the second round? They never have. I don't think this will be the year, no. But I would love to be proven wrong. Honestly, they played such great baseball last night, and do yourself a favor, head down into the description and watch the highlights video that I've got linked. But we'll move on to Pool C, and this looks like a bit more of a foregone conclusion, at least for the winners of the pool. The Americans have one of the best, if not the best team in the tournament. Will they win out? Absolutely. Every single one of these teams they can beat when they are on their day. Now, will they get beaten? It's a possibility. The Mexicans can beat them. The Canadians can beat them. Now, who comes in second place is a bit more up in the air. The Colombians are an exciting new team with a lot of talent. The Canadians have a lot of talent on that roster. You have big guys like Freddie Freeman and Tyler O'Neill, as well as Cal Quantrill, their ace, who can really bring the pain when they are playing at their best. Then that Mexican team, speaking of good pitching, has some of the best in the bigs, and the offense, at least in the outfield, is also pretty impressive. So who does that second place spot go to? I think it's going to be the Mexicans. They're only going to lose 1 game and win out to move on. But watch the Canadians. Do not sleep on them. And now for Pool D, the pool of death. That's what the D stands for. At least If you asked every single pundit who's been covering the tournament so far, I'm inclined to agree with them because the DR, PR, and Venezuela are three of the most dangerous teams in the tournament. Who wins out? The DR. Their talent level is absolutely absurd, even with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. decommitting just days before the tournament. The rest of that infield and outfield is utterly superb. I mean, Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez in the same lineup. Forget about it. You throw Manny Machado in there. Are you kidding me? Sandy Alcantara at the head of their rotation, one of the biggest aces in the bigs. He is sensational, and he wants this gold medal. Will he get it? There is a strong chance that he will. And the only team that I think could beat the DR of this bunch is this Venezuelan team with Jose Altuve as their principal leading star. They also have an excellent outfield, an excellent infield. You know, I'm partial to Ranger Suarez in that Venezuelan rotation, but they also have Pablo Lopez, part of that incredible Marlins rotation from a couple years ago, now recently traded to Minnesota. They're going to be rough. They're going to be fun to watch. And don't sleep on the PR either. But as far as star power goes and the ability to string wins together, they are just below the DR and Venezuela for me. But again, this is a great thing about this tournament, especially with how this in particular tournament has gone. It could absolutely go either way. As far as Team Israel is concerned, they got some big boppers in that lineup. I'm looking at you, Jock Peterson, that can win them one game, but the rest of the talent is old or a little too inexperienced. Some exciting prospects, to be sure. Watch Matt Mervis at first base for Team Israel. And Nicaragua, good for you for getting here. I don't think you're going to be getting much further than this first round. So what does that mean for the knockout round? So let's take a look here. Q1, Italy versus Korea. I am looking forward to this matchup, but the Koreans on their day, they have proven that they can be beaten. But Italy has not quite as good a team as Team Australia. That might come back to bite me, but we'll see. We'll have to see if the Korean pitchers can have a little bit more control than they did against the Australians in this matchup. Now, who wins that? I think it's going to be Korea, but again, it could go either way, especially with how that Italian team was hitting against Cuba. Q2, Taiwan and Japan. The Taiwanese narrowly losing to the Japanese a couple years back by just one run. It will be a very hard-fought game, but Samurai Japan, I think, will carry the day just for the talent level. I mean, NPB's about 4A, think AAA, and the majors somewhere in the middle there. And CPPL's often been, I think, accurately compared to the AA level in the majors. And that's about fair with a handful of exceptions. But boy, would I love to see Team Taiwan go a little bit further. But I don't think they're going to get past Samurai Japan. Mexico DR in Q3. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup too. But the DR is just too young, just too talented, and just too strong to lose to this Mexican side, who is a little inconsistent at their worst. And Q4, I think one of the sneakiest, best games of this entire tournament, if it shakes out. Venezuela versus the USA. The Americans, I think, have a bit more talent than Venezuela in their roster, as well as the team chemistry. A lot of these guys have been playing together for quite some time. But again, same with Venezuela. It could go either way. I'm picking the Americans to move on, but only just. So here are your semifinal matchups then in the middle of this graphic. Japan versus Korea and the US against the DR. Holy moly, do not miss these games. Do not miss these games. I'm going to say it a third time so that you don't. Do not miss those games. Do yourself a favor, tune into Fox Sports, watch both of them, especially if things play out the way that we are predicting them to. The Japan-Korea matchup is one of the best in international baseball. It could go either way, especially if they've played each other before. I think Samurai Japan moves on in such a big game like this. Shohei Ohtani, Munetaka Murakami, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The star power is unbelievable, especially they view this as the biggest moment on the world stage. Samurai Japan, the best international baseball team on earth. I am saying it right here. And then the U.S. versus the DR. Who wins that? Oh, it pains me. It pains me. I think the DR just might come up a tiny bit short against this American team. You can't beat Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker in the outfield, and then JT Realmuto in the infield leading stars on stars on stars. Forget it. USA to the final against Samurai Japan. And you know me. You do. If you clicked on this channel, you know what I do here, and you know also what I believe. So the outcome might not surprise you. I'm going to call it right here. It's going to be a slugfest. It will finish 10-9 in favor of Samurai Japan. Now, will things play out that way? Who knows? But I would love it if it did, because what this means is the best Major League talent goes up against the best NPB talent, and the best NPB talent wins, with, of course, help from the best player in baseball in Shohei Ohtani. It will improve once and for all that baseball is a world game. And it pains me to say it because I am an American. I should be rooting for my national team, and then maybe next tournament I will. But you know what? This needs to be a statement tournament. And this is why I'm glad that most of y'all are watching out there. I will be watching right along with you. Don't be shy to tune in on Twitter and Instagram. We are tweeting pretty much every single game that we can sink our teeth into. Updates on Instagram. Please do like and share this video if you enjoyed it and you know somebody who would enjoy it right along with you. And be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon down below the video screen to be notified every time we upload a new video. And this is going to be a busy month. A lot of unscripted content coming your way. We got the NBB season preview next week, KBO right after that, and then at the end of the month, Part 2, the King's Tale Part 2 coming your way. That absolutely is scripted. I'm very, very glad you all enjoyed that. I think we're going to be uploading Part 1 again with better audio, so watch out for that. It was a copyright strike situation. I didn't really want to get into the behind the scenes of it too much. But that wraps things up. I have been Marshall Lamert. This has been GBN's World Baseball Classic Preview Show. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. But for now, that's the game.